Welcome to this week's Fireside Chat with Jesse. I am joined today by Patrick Rohn, Regional Sales Manager for the healthcare team at PEAC Solutions. Thanks for joining me, Patrick.
No, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Looking forward to being on.
No, it's great to have you on the program. Kind of when your camera turned on, and you probably saw this. It's like, I've seen that background before, and
100
you
times.
kind
Well,
of
and
see.
I found out that there was 240 episodes of these. I've probably watched 220 of them. That's
It's
how much I love content. I eat up content consistently. I'm kind of addicted to it at this point. Putting out content, reading content, I love it all. Anything that we can do to, spread awareness is exciting for me.
absolutely, and we'll dig into some of that because I know it's as easy as this might seem like it is for you and I. It's not.
Oh yeah,
Um,
not at all.
it's not, but we'll dive into that a little bit later. So, Patrick, for the people in equipment finance who haven't met you yet, do you mind just kind of introducing yourself and your career to date?
Yeah, so my name is Patrick Rohn. Like you said, I'm a regional sales manager specific to the healthcare team at PEAC Solutions. Started there in January 2nd, actually, of 2024. This is, company number, I want to say 4 or 5 at this point. So I started my career back in 2013. And so, coming up on 12 years now in the business. And yeah, the last 15 months or so have been pretty exciting for me. Been able to kind of really grow my career with what PEAC is doing, and really the technology that we're bringing to the table is pretty exciting. And I'm doing my best at trying to share my journey along the way.
Perfect. And then, were you always in a sales role in the previous organizations?
Yeah, so I got into the equipment finance space by accident. I was actually doing customer service for a company in California, and that was seasonal. And so during
Right.
that time, I was just applying to pretty much anywhere that I could apply to. And I ended up getting a call from an organization, Time Payment, small ticket, micro ticket lender. And they had reached out to me, and I went through a pretty lengthy interview process just because I had no industry experience at all. And so that took quite a bit of time. But once I got in, I was hired on as at the time being what they called vendor acquisition. So my sole job was to just call vendors all day and try to get them, pique their interest to utilize Time Payment, get them on the platform, and then I would eventually, kind of shuffle those off to what they called a vendor retention rep. And that was how I got into the space. And it was actually really good for me because it forced me to be on the phone consistently. I had no
Sure.
experience cold calling, but it was a great experience. As you can see, I love talking, and so I actually got, I was pretty successful within a short period of time. I was bringing on a significant amount of new vendors and excelled pretty quickly, and that was kind of my initial, falling in love with the space because I could see the value in what we do. And once I saw the value, it was pretty easy to sell, right? And that's how I got my original footing set.
Sure. Sure. We'll dive into more of the sales methodology and
Oh yeah.
process that you kind of get into here in a little bit. But thanks for telling me on how you got involved. Now, Time Payment being on the East Coast, were you in, because you're in Colorado now, right?
Yeah. So at the time, Time Payment during that time had an office in California, had an office in the East Coast. I had started working in their West Coast office. And so, it wasn't a remote role out of the gate. It was in the office grinding for 8 hours a day. I had a call quota. It was really, really all the bells and whistles that come with like being a cold caller. It was like, here's a
They have a,
list.
they have a screen. Did they have a screen up in the background to see who's made the most calls for the
They
day?
did
Because
it,
I've
but
seen.
there was my boss in the corner watching over us all. That was even a little bit more terrifying.
I've seen those before where it's like, God, I've been in some of those offices in California, and I'm like, who's Alice?
Yeah.
Better
It
step your
shows they
game
have
up,
a whole
girl.
metric screen on
Better
there.
step your game up, girl. You only have 2 apps. That person has 24 apps.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I have seen that. Luckily, I don't think I've ever worked in a place that was like that. I would have probably liked it because I'm very competitive, but I haven't had the pleasure of being in an organization like that. But it was definitely very competitive environment, which is nice. I'm an athlete at heart, so anything that, that's why I originally attracted myself to being in sales and why I love it today.
Yeah, my first, well, not my first sales job, my second sales job, first job in equipment finance, the chief revenue officer was all about the board, right? All about the board. First day of every month, you'd go out there and write, and
Oh yeah.
eraser marker.
Oh, that was,
Who's the
we did have
top
that.
revenue, year to date, monthly, and it's just like, see what you're doing here, your psychological warfare. But I never wanted to be on the bottom of the board, right? You want to be the
No,
top.
never. Not when you're a competitor. Sales is a weird role because it takes a special person to excel at sales because number one, you have to have a competitive spirit. You can't be shy. You have to have the ability to fall down and consistently get back up. I mean, and that's just it's one thing about being in this industry is it's very challenging because those who are successful, it looks easy, but to get there is such a, gosh, I've been knocked down so many times, it's such a rough journey to say the least. And for me, they did have that at Time Payment is they had the whiteboard up there and this is our monthly goal, or this is, in my case, this is how many vendor applications you had this month. And I think for my first 6 months there, I was the top, acquisition guy every month. And so it was like, I had to be that guy, it was like, that was my driving factor. So it worked. It worked for me.
Then you have some of your colleagues like, you dork.
Oh, for
Oh,
sure.
like, come on, what are you doing? Like,
Yeah,
let's not
like chill out.
stop
I mean,
showing
then you
us
have
up.
those guys, you do have those guys that are like, why are you such a tryhard? And it's like, I get
Hey,
it. I
sorry,
get it,
man.
but this is also my career. And the best part about being a tryhard in sales is that your compensation is directly correlated to your production. So that's the best part for me is that it's a direct reflection of how hard I'm working.
Yeah.
Will show off and being, whether that's my goal and what I want to accomplish volume wise or how I want to make money or whatever it is, it's going to be a direct reflection of the work that I put into it. And it's always been that way.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you're so lucky, and it's like another metaphor, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
if me
No,
working
yeah.
my tail off is luck, then sure, I'll be the
100%.
beneficiary of luck all the time.
I know. Yes. How do I, where's the magic 8 ball? Because I want to rub it. I need more luck or the genie in the bottle, hook it up.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just one of those things with sales that hard work is what it takes, and adversity. I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head there. I mean, my first full sales job was for Yellow Pages,
Oh gosh.
and that's walking business to business.
Oh
Would
yeah.
you like your ad in here? And what kind of, when I went through that training in 2004, I asked the trainer because there's 20 of us in a room. I'm like, what is your attrition rate? Then he goes 100%. And I'm
Oh,
like, what? He goes, yeah, most likely none of you will be with the company in 12 months.
oh yeah.
And
That
sure
is
enough,
rough.
six months later, there was only two of us left.
Oh, I'm sure.
Um, because that's true transactional sales, which I don't mind if that's what I have to do to put food on the table for my family. But when I got into equipment finance, it was truly the relationship selling. And that's,
That was the best. That has been the best part about this industry. 100%.
but I found a niche though. What I actually did was I went on my computer and created ads. So instead of me walking into a business and saying, "Would you like your ad here?" I went into the business and already made an ad and
And
said,
you're
"How
like,
does
would
this
you like
look?"
to have this here? That's genius. Absolutely genius. It's the best part, getting creative.
It's like people are like, "How are you doing all this stuff? How'd you sell the double page thing?" I'm like,
I came prepared.
I read what they did. I printed what I think I would want, and then I didn't really have to do anything.
No,
Picture's worth
100%.
1,000 words. Let's go.
Agreed.
But yeah, I mean, I know. Sorry, I've sent over kind of an agenda and how I wanted to think this was going to go, but we're switching it around a little bit. But that's good. So, in sales, I guess what I always look for, whatever I'm selling, right? I mean, at the end of the day, you're selling yourself, and then a product comes with it, right? Because people want that relationship with Patrick. Um, have you found a formula for success, Patrick, on what has made you successful to date?
Yeah, I mean, I think I have an addiction to service. For me, I have no patience at all, um, and that has proven to be a very good trait in this specific industry. People know that I'm reliable. They can count on me. If they need something, I'm going to get it done. No ifs, ands, or buts. That has 100% contributed to my success. Absolutely. I mean, I can't even look at really any other thing other than just showing up has been a major determining factor in my ability to be successful. The last two organizations I've worked in, I've been the top sales rep. I had the pleasure of joining PEAC and in my first year winning the Summit Award, which is given to the top sales rep for their quota achievement. And I think I owe a lot of that to, number one, my ability to just show up, being reliable, people can count on me, but also being an expert in my field. I know the industry that I work in extremely well. I know what my competitors offer. I know different strategies on how to set myself different or set myself apart from my competitors because I know what is out there. I can come in and say, hey, have you thought about doing this? And that's done a number of things for me. Number one, it's allowed me to kind of set myself in my own lane, but it's also allowed me to be respected by a lot of the accounts that I work with to say, wow, this guy really knows what he's talking about. He's really making it easier for my customers to purchase equipment. He's providing a high level of service. And most importantly, I think the trait that I lean on most has always been integrity. Just do what you say you're going to do. Don't beat around the bush. Um, tell things tell people how it is. And that's been a trait for me that I've carried with me for the last several years that has been absolutely gold. And that's really what I'm passionate about is the service aspect, and then doing everything in my power to get creative with my partners, work with them on and figure out different strategies of how we can help them sell more. And that has proven to be sort of a winning formula for me.
Yeah, it's you mentioned a lot of stuff there to unpack, but we don't have enough time to go into
Oh yeah.
everything. But I mean, the integrity piece is big, right? Like it's so a lot of times in sales, it's like, right, we're just trying to paint this picture of the perfect world, but it's never a perfect world. And there are some times where you have to kind of walk the gray line to get something over the finish line, but it's the transparency and the honesty where it's like, look, here's what we're up against. Here's where I think this is going to go. Could go this way, could go that way. But just that open and honest communication with people, I think, just kind of gets you through
Well,
when
and
things
and you
aren't
want to know
always great.
100%. And I mean, I think the biggest part about doing that is I think the mistake that a lot of sales reps make, it's unfortunate, is they get so caught up in the deal that they forget that there's something bigger at play here. And you might not get that deal closed because maybe the customer doesn't like the terms, or maybe, it's just not the right time, whatever it might be. There's a lot of sales reps that have pressure, whether it's a quota or, it's pressure on themselves to try to do and say anything to get the deal to the finish line. And that might work for that deal. But the problem that I see with that, and I've seen this happen with a lot of sales reps, is eventually that starts tarnishing their reputation and it impacts the grander scheme of things. And so, one thing that has worked well for me on the integrity aspect is I have a lot of customers that choose not to do business with me for a number of reasons because I've I maybe was a little bit too honest about something where some other sales reps might not have disclosed certain things. I disclose them because for me, it's really more about making sure that I go to bed at night knowing that I did the right thing. And that has worked wonders for me because I have so many referrals from vendors or customers that are like, hey, you got to work with Patrick. He's going to take care of you, no BS. You're going to get, he's a straight shooter. You're going to get what, he tells you you're going to get. And that has been very pivotal in my career, because once you've lost your reputation, it's very hard to get it back.
That is extremely true. And I just think of, back to my selling software days, right? Like you sit there, and I've had it happen a handful of times, right? Where it's like the deal's done, right? You just got to get to a contract, and then all of a sudden something scoops in at the last minute, and it's you get that call, and it's like, look, this is what they're doing. Can you do the same? And it's like, no way that's gonna happen.
Yeah,
Like, no way, no
Yeah,
way. And they're like, well, it's written here. I'm like, congratulations.
yeah.
It's written on a piece of paper. There's no way, based on what I know about this, that is possible. Sorry. And
I
then
wish that I
2 years later, how'd that go? We're still not done.
It
Sorry.
happens way too often, which is the crazy thing.
Yeah.
Happens way too often.
And as you said, I'm not going to mention the Scarface quote because, it's probably a half appropriate, but, you have your word, right? Your reputation in this world. And if you don't
It's
do the
the only
right
thing you
thing,
got. And
then
it's unfortunate that a lot of people in my position in the sales rep aspect, get so caught up in deals and getting them to the finish line, that they forget that in the vendor finance space, in the equipment finance space, especially in my seat, my flow of business comes from the partners that I represent. And it is my moral obligation to make sure that I am fully transparent with what I'm offering their customers. And that when I'm speaking with their customers, I'm fully transparent about everything, because there is nothing more frustrating than you withholding information from the customer, and then down the line, it blows up in your face. And all that stuff is completely avoidable. So I have kind of made it my mission over the last handful of years to just be over transparent. I don't care if the deal closes or not. I owe it to my partners to make sure that they're taken care of, that I'm honest and transparent with their customers, so that when they do make that purchase, they've been presented with everything possible and that they feel good about it.
yeah, it's not always the easiest conversation to have, but at the end of the day, you reap what you sow, and you want to put your head on the pillow and be able to sleep good at night, and then not remember what you said last time. You're like, wait, what's going on here? So it's just
And I
easy.
am not perfect by any means. I would say the start of my career, I got sucked in a lot of these different tactics and strategies, and I was trying to make a name for myself, and I started to realize, like, okay, this might win me the deal, but I'm starting to like lose the trust from some of my partners, because they're like, well, you didn't tell the customer this, or you didn't, you weren't transparent about that. And I started realizing, like, okay, there's something that's way more important than this transaction. And it comes down to, being somebody that has a high level of integrity, great character, reliable. All those character traits are what I think is really important for somebody that's in my seat.
Perfect. Well, thank you for discussing that, and then we'll just stick on the sales topic, Patrick, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So you know, with the economy that's going on right now, you know, I think people almost see it as an excuse in sales, but other people see it as an opportunity. Judging by, what I'm hearing from you, it's opportunity right now. Like there is no this. It's how do we figure out a way to keep it going that
You
way?
know, 100%. I think the biggest struggle that every sales rep is going to face is going to be excuses. It's hard. I'll be honest with you. Um, you're the biggest thing I struggle with is my flow of business can be days where it's just deals, 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 and then all of a sudden I got no business. And it's how you handle yourself in that ride, that roller coaster ride down, um, is how you're going to come out of that situation. It could be a day, could be, a couple of weeks where you're just not seeing the same amount of volume. That's a part of being in sales. I think right now is a great opportunity because there's a lot of, things going on that I think is going to be very beneficial for businesses, business owners, consumers, coming down the pipeline, that I think for the lenders and the sales reps that are focused on providing solutions are going to be able to really capitalize on. I think that that's what really makes me excited about being at PEAC. Is right now we're going through getting some additional support from a capital perspective that is going to allow us to really be, extremely well capitalized. And in our space, being well capitalized allows you to do a lot of things. And it's kind of unfortunate too, because you're also seeing a lot of, banks and lenders exit the space. I was a part of an organization that is no longer in the space. And that's, what kind of landed me at being at PEAC. But right now is just a great opportunity for sales reps and lenders, because I really think in the next 3 to 6 months, there's going to be an absolute abundance of, opportunities out there for those willing to, do the work and get in there and grind and go to the trade shows, make the connections, ask for the referrals. It's going to be a good time coming up. I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, as you just mentioned, you can ride those highs, all day long, but it's what you do. And I hate, I'm not to be cliche here, but in the face of adversity, or if you sit there and want to sulk on it, then sorry, bud, but someone's just going to pass you by, because if you're working hard enough, eventually, no, sorry, we just don't have it. No, I'm sorry, we just don't have it. Okay, well, eventually you'll
Well,
have it, and then it'll be
so
time to go.
so to touch on that aspect, is I had an account that I have now done, probably upwards of $100 million with them over the last several years. That account took me 3 years before I ever got one application from. I was told no so many times, so many times. I went to trade shows, no. Phone calls, no. Emails, stop emailing us. It was no, no, no. But I was so convinced in my heart that I could bring them value. And I just kept poking along, pushing away. And eventually that account, I got an opportunity. I remember I was on the freeway to have lunch with a friend of mine, and I got a phone call from their vice president of sales that said, "Hey, Patrick, we got this transaction. Our main lender came back with some unfavorable terms. Our customer doesn't like it. What can you do?" That phone call changed my life. That phone call changed my life. It opened the door for me to have that relationship. It's a relationship that I cherish till this day. I'm very
Sure.
close with the entire team there. But it was years of getting no. And that is the hardest part about being in sales, is everybody wants to have that instant gratification, but it can take years to be an overnight success. And that's the hardest part, is that's the hardest part, to just stick in there and go, okay, I'm just one phone call away, one email away, one text message away from an opportunity that could change my life. And that's something that I push heavily on my social media or my LinkedIn account, is to just kind of remind people of that.
Yeah, I mean, people are like, oh my God, how do you know all these people? Like, you're doing all these things. And it's like, yeah, it's 20 years of, grinding it out, doing the right thing. And it's just, you're not getting that time back. I mean, I think about all the time I stay away from my family and miss certain events, and I'm trying to do less of that, but it doesn't seem to be happening.
Yeah, I mean, it's anytime you're trying to build whatever it is that you're trying to build, it takes a lot of grit. Back here is a sign that I keep on in my office, but it takes focus, it takes, commitment, and it takes, missing certain, family events, whatever it might be, to get there. Because anytime you're successful, whatever it is a consistent, just go, 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 because you're not going to find that big account on your first phone call. You're not going to find that amazing partner on your first email. I have an account right now that I'm trying to get into. I've been contacting them for months, 16 months now, since I joined PEAC. And I'm like, just give me a shot. I'm finally now connecting with them, and they're finally seeing, oh, wow, you guys can do that, or you can do this. Most people would have been like 2 months in, nah, forget about it, But when you believe in something, it's pretty easy to stay focused, right?
Um, last question kind of on the sales side is, what advice would you give to someone? Because sales, everyone thinks they can sell, but it's not for everybody. Um, I guess if you had one nugget to give advice to someone who's just getting started, what would it be?
I think for me is reliable. Most people in sales are not reliable. They aren't. They won't text you back when you need them. They won't respond to you right away when you need something. They're not there when you need them. If you can be somebody that is reliable, you've already got like 80% of the competition beat.
And not only from a customer facing or vendor facing, but be reliable to your owner of the organization or your employer. Because if you're there and you're working your tail off, some months are going to be good, some months are going to be bad. If you're working hard and you're reliable showing up to work, you're going to get a pass.
Always. We could call Jen right now. No.
Text Jen, FaceTime. Hey, what are your thoughts here? Let's check this stuff. Thank you for that. So I want to move on to kind of, leveraging LinkedIn or social media to help, build a brand or share your success or share what you've seen in the industry as, I guess, those just little tidbits that you throw out there, right? So what was kind of the epiphany that said, okay, hey, I want to do this? And then how many times did you think about it and say, no, I'm too vulnerable for that. I don't, now I'm opening myself up to scrutiny. Like just walk me through your headspace
Yeah,
on that.
I have to give 100% credit. He probably doesn't know this. I've never really talked to him about it, but there was a guy by the name of Seth Thompson on LinkedIn. At the time, he was actually working for Time Payment, and he was putting out a lot of content. I want to say maybe 2018, 2017, around that time. And I was just in awe because I was like, this is a brilliant idea. How is nobody doing this? And so I had watched all of his content. I had consumed it a lot. And I was like, he had worked in a different vertical. So what he was talking about was a little bit, unique to that specific space. And I was like, well, let me focus on seeing if I could do the same. And originally my plan was I had some close friends of mine that were cinematographers. So I was like, let me come up with like a list of videos that I want to share different topics that I thought would be beneficial. And so I had set some time up on a weekend and did all the videos. It's still up on my YouTube page, Equipment Financing Simplified. And I had done that. And then I started to realize, I was like, well, this isn't sustainable. So I have to figure out a way to be more consistent at it. And so when I live in Colorado now, at the time I was living in California, I had, invested in a ring light that held my phone. And anytime, I kid you not, anytime I had inspiration, I pulled it out, flipped my phone around, pressed record. And like now, if you go to my, my LinkedIn page, God, there's so many videos on there, but you can go all the way back to like those first days several years ago when I started. But it started because, shout out to Seth Thompson. He was really the one that kind of, blazed the path for me. And he's still, till this day, he works in the communication space on the vendor side now, but he is super active on it. And he was a main inspiration for how I even got started. So shout out to you, Seth. I don't know if you know that, but now it's all out there.
No, that's fantastic. And then, once you started getting the feedback, at first you're just like, God, some of these views, like who's going to be watching this, right? I mean, that's how I started this. I was bored in COVID and I just started it and I was just talking with friends in the industry that I'm like, hey, let's just jump on this record and see what kind of feedback we get. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, I noticed this person. I don't know them at all, but I'm going to get them on here and see how I do. And it's just fun.
Oh, I love it. I mean, I think for me, it's been I'm a creative person kind of at heart. So it's been exciting because the way that I actually do my videos now is more of I'll be working. And if I'm in a situation that like I feel could be beneficial for somebody, all of a sudden the light flicks off. I immediately stop what I'm doing. I start writing down notes on what I want to put together. And that's how my videos come to be now. It's more of like a sporadic thing of I have a notepad on my computer, and anytime I have a situation that I feel like I want to share, immediately jot it down, and then I'll spend some time over the weekend, and then I actually, I have a nice I've invested in, at this point in my video career, I have invested in, better technology and things so that, it's a little bit more professional. But yeah, I mean, the early days I had nobody watching them. And now some videos I have, I'll have 1,000, 1,200 impressions, but if all I get from a video is one person that sends me a note to say, hey, I really appreciate that video, put things in a great perspective, like that's enough for me. Like, I do not do this to go and become some like equipment finance like superstar. I do it because at one point I struggled in this career. I didn't really know anything about anything. And now I feel like it's kind of my moral obligation to share as much information as I possibly can. And I
Sure.
like doing it.
Yeah, I still have yet to make an investment in technology. If you'd see my setup here, you'd laugh. You'd be like, dude, seriously?
I thought it would be a lot more expensive than it was. But I had some I had some new headshots done about a year and a half ago, and I was talking to the photographer, and I said, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing this," and he was like, "Hey, contact my son. He knows all about that." And so I reached out to him, and it was actually super affordable, and I like it because now I have the lighting, I have the camera, I have all the stuff that I
Yep.
need, and I have a separate dedicated computer that's all, I don't know how to set it up, if I'm being honest, but he had done it all for me. So all I have to do is open it up, press record, I'm ready to go.
It's fantastic. I'm literally in my like living room. I have this is on an iPad. I have a holder for the iPad. I have a trash can flipped upside down to have it at this angle.
We're gonna
And
have
that
to get you a better setup,
and,
dude.
and here we go. You talk about
I'm gonna
like,
share with you my Amazon cart. There you go. You'll be rocking and rolling in no time.
just one of those things where it's I just haven't gotten around to it. And when I did the Peter Zion interview last year, it was like episode 200. That was a little nerve-wracking because I knew kind of the audience that he was going to draw. And I would say of the 50 comments, maybe 10 were generous, were directed towards what is this guy using for his setup and the sound. And I'm like,
Hey, I
yeah.
think if you would have never said your setup, I would think it's great. So
Hey, it like anything else, it just works. And I'm
it
kind of
works.
like,
Sometimes, if the old saying is always true. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
so kudos to you for taking that leap, man. I know it's not easy. I mean, people be like, what are you talking about? All you're doing is, recording yourself and listening to yourself talk, but it's not. I mean, it's not as easy as people think it might be. But from a, I guess, brand perspective, Patrick, how have you seen changes, and
100%.
your
Yeah, I mean,
perception of you in the industry is now kind of like this guy knows what he's talking about. Like, yeah, I can relate to that. And that's all it takes, right? Is just you hit that one person. It's like, yeah, I
I
get it.
think for I think for me, that was really over the last couple years has really been the turning point. Is now I'm getting people know who I am. Like, I walked into the PEAC office and like everybody knew who I was because, oh, I've seen your videos, or I'll go to a trade show in my particular vertical market, and everybody. It's helped me so much in my career. I really can't like. It's been transformational, quite honestly, because it's been a great tool. I'm on people's LinkedIn pages consistently. People are commenting on it, sharing it, whatever it is. And now, it's turns things from being like cold introductions, I guess, to now being a lot more warm intros because people have seen my videos. They know what I'm about. They know what kind of content I'm focused on and all those things. So it's been very impactful in the most positive way.
And then, what advice would you have to, our peers in the industry watching this, as far as if they wanted to, you know, do shorts or interviews or some kind of, content online?
It's so funny that you said that because I was literally thinking in my mind, I was like, I feel like you might ask me that question. And I was like, what would my response be? My response is, if you have the urge to do it, just do it. Like, that is the hardest part. It's that old like Nike slogan, just do it. Just do it. Just grab yourself, like you could go on Amazon and get an iPhone holder and just start putting stuff out there. Eventually you'll kind of find your stride. You'll figure out what works, what doesn't work. But I think the hardest part is just doing it. And that was when I first started. I think I started making videos maybe back in 2018. My hardest part is I overthought it. I was like, oh, it needs to be this. It needs to be like this. I got to do this. And I almost talked myself out of doing it because I was like, it had to be a certain way. It had to be a certain thing. And then I started realizing it was like, nah, just do it. Turn on the camera, record yourself. You'll get more comfortable. It's funny, everybody now is like, well, how are you so comfortable in front of the camera? I'm like, well, when you record yourself 17,000 times, eventually you get pretty good at it. And that's the hardest part, is just do it.
Now, what I still have yet to perfect is like this setting here to me now is just completely just natural because it's just doing so many of them.
Oh yeah.
It's standing in front of an audience at a podium. I still have to
That
work
is a
that part.
completely different. That is a
People are like, oh, but
completely
people are
different.
like, oh, you're natural. I'm like, yeah, I'm an armchair quarterback sitting here like in my living room, comfortable in my house. I'm not standing up with a spotlight on me with hundreds of people looking
People
at me.
just staring at you. No, I mean, that's something that I got asked a couple years ago to speak at a national sales meeting for a vendor of mine, and I was like, I'm gonna crush it. And I was like up there, and all of a sudden, like my mind was just going blank, and I was like, what am I even talking?
Were your legs going like this too? Because it's
Yeah,
just
you're like,
like that.
you're trying to figure out what. I was like, I'm good at this, but but being in front of people on a stage, kind of on the spotlight, like here, I could mess up and we could go in and edit it. Like, there's no messing up there. You gotta be good. And there's people that excel at that, and with anything, it just comes from just the more you do it, the better you're going to be.
Yeah. However, I'm not looking forward to doing more of it. So people calm down. People calm down. Yeah. Um, so I ask everyone, Patrick, who comes on the program to give me a little fun fact about themselves. So outside of equipment finance and recording some of some of your tips and tricks, like what do you enjoy doing?
I will be honest with you. So everybody might think this is a little crazy. So my girlfriend and I, she's basically my wife at this point. We've been together for so long. We don't have any kids, but we spend 6 months out of the year coaching travel ice hockey. That's like a 5 day a week commitment, a
Ace,
ton of
yeah.
work. It is a full-time second job from August all the way to March. But we absolutely love it. And the reason that I love it is because I look back at when I played hockey, all of the things that I learned in that sport are things that I use every single day. The work ethic, the being positive, the focus, the getting up early, all those aspects are things that impacted me being successful today. And so when I moved to Colorado, I was talking to my dad, and my dad goes, "Why don't you get into coaching?" And we had gotten into it, and it is something that we absolutely love and cherish. And people would go, "How do you spend 6 months out of the year, 5 days a week, working with kids that aren't yours?" It's because I love it. I love seeing Vanessa, and I love seeing the kids get better. We like seeing them, just thrive, and knowing that all those tools that they are going to learn within that sport is going to impact them for the rest of their lives. So that's something that not a lot of people know unless you know me personally, because I'm always talking about it, but not something that is openly shared all the time.
Ah, that's awesome. And kudos to you. I mean, like you said, you're dedicating that time to help somebody else's kids other than your own too. Which a lot of the times I'm sure when it comes to those coaches, they have a kid in the program or have had a kid in
A
the
hundred
program at some
percent,
point in time.
100%.
So yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
No, thank you
So I
for letting
guess
me share.
my last question I have for you, man, is why should someone uh, want to do business with Patrick Rohn at PEAC Solutions?
I would say, the simple factor is I always say this: reliability. I'm going to be somebody that you always count on day in and day out. I almost can guarantee you that if you go to my LinkedIn and see somebody that's commented on there that has worked with me and you ask them, why do you do business with Patrick? The first thing they're going to say is, you can count on him. And like I said, that is a character trait that I cherish very much. Being reliable, having integrity, and having a good attitude. Those three things are something that are very valuable to me. And those are three things that make me somebody that I think is pretty easy to work with, just because I'm somebody that is always there ready to go.
Perfect, man. Well, this has been, this has been great. I know there was a few topics that we didn't get a chance to discuss today. Maybe we'll leave those for another podcast down the road.
Hopefully I'll get to be on episode 580.
Hopefully I live that long. That's a lot.
You're getting there. You're getting there.
Awesome, man. Well, appreciate your time today, Patrick. Congratulations on your success to date, and look forward to seeing you, in your shorts on LinkedIn here, as you continue to put out content.
Oh, you too. And I appreciate you for having me. And I continue to do these podcasts because I really, really enjoy them. And I'm so grateful that you had me on. Thank you so much.
No problem. Talk soon, man. Thank you.
Talk soon. Bye.